morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome back to Animal Behavior. We're talking about communication, how it can be in the form of smells, it can be in the form of sounds, postures, colors, movements, patterns, even light. Let's look at a picture. So what we see here is a beehive, and what these foragers are doing is she is telling the other foragers where to go find food. She uses the sun as a navigation point. She flies at 30 degrees angle from the sun, and you keep going a particular distance and you'll find a food source. So up and down, that's where the sun is, and then she'll dance at a 35 or 30 degree angle, the same as they're supposed to follow, and she'll dance for a certain distance, explaining to them how far you need to fly. It's called a waggle dance because she will fly and she'll wiggle her butt. And then she goes and makes a turn. And when she's wiggling like that, she's telling the other foragers around her, this is where you go to find food. This is using movements to communicate. It's actually really amazing that these organisms the size of the end of your pinky are able to use math to communicate where to find food. When talking about communication, we have at least two individuals. The one sending the signal is called the signaler, and the one who is receiving it is called the signal receiver. Signals will persist in a population when both parties benefit from the signal. That is very important. Let's go back to the rattlesnake. If you're walking in the woods and you start to hear a rattle, what are you going to do? What you should do is freeze. Look around and find the source of the rattle. Once you've found the source of the rattle, you should now slowly move away. Go the other direction away from the rattle. Now let's analyze that interaction. Number one, the snake sent a signal. And what was that signal? That signal was stay away from me. I'm letting you know where I am. I'm right here. Don't step on me. Leave me alone. If you don't leave me alone, I'm going to bite. You received the signal. The rattlesnake was the signaler. You were the signal receiver. And you responded to that signal by walking away. How did you benefit from the signal? The way you benefited from the signal is you didn't get bit by a rattlesnake. How did the snake benefit from the signal? To be fair, rattlesnakes are actually really good camouflage. They're really, really hard to spot if they don't want to be seen. So you might accidentally step on it, and that's what worries the rattlesnake. He's worried about being stepped on. You are 100, 200 plus pounds. If you step on that snake, you can hurt it really bad. It doesn't want to be stepped on. So it's going to let you know to stay away. Leave me alone. How did the snake benefit? You didn't step on it. And it warned you, here I am, leave me alone. You've both benefited. The snake didn't get hurt accidentally. You didn't get hurt by stepping on a snake who would have to defend itself by biting you. Both organisms, both animals, benefited from the signal. Let's talk about this. It will persist when both parties benefit. So I imagine you probably all heard of rattlesnake roundups. Out west, Arizona, Nevada, places like that, they'll do what's called a rattlesnake roundup. They'll go out in the desert and they will find rattlesnakes and they'll bring them into a big pit and they'll kill them and they'll sell the meat and they'll tan the hides and they'll use the hides for boots and whatever. The way they find these rattlesnakes is they just go stomping out in the desert and they start poking sticks into holes. And what happens if there's a rattlesnake in there? It'll start to rattle. And then they'll reach in with a snake grabber with a big long metal pole. And they'll bring the snake out and they'll put it in a big bucket. And then they bring, hundreds of these things in. They've been doing this for close to a century. Going out, finding rattlesnakes, by their rattle and collecting them and bringing them in and killing them. Natural selection. Only the ones that survive today can have babies tomorrow. What are the only rattlesnakes then that are going to survive? The ones that don't rattle. So what's actually happening to rattlesnakes out west? What's happening is they're going silent. They're not rattling as much as they used to. Because within any population, you have natural variation. You have some that are going to rattle a lot. You're going to have some that are going to rattle a little bit, and then you're going to have some that don't rattle hardly at all. What's happening to all the ones that rattle a lot? They're being gathered, and they're being killed. Natural selection. So what are the only ones that are left alive? The ones that don't rattle very much. So if mommy doesn't rattle very much and daddy doesn't rattle very much, what does that mean for baby? Baby probably isn't going to rattle very much. Why is that happening? Because no longer are both parties benefiting from the signal. The human benefits from the signal because they get to catch the rattlesnake and then take it and sell it. But the snake is no longer benefiting from the signal. The snake is not benefiting. If the snake isn't benefiting, then now this signal is no longer persisting in the population through natural selection. A composite signal is often called a display. That rattlesnake is not just rattling, it also coils up. And that coiling is a posture. The rattle is a sound. When the when the cat hisses, it arches its back. That's a posture and a sound. When the dog snarls, it shows its teeth and it barks. That is a sound and a posture. That is two signals combined. Two signals combined is referred to as a display. Most common displays are threat displays. Threat display is probably, I would argue, very likely the signal, the communication that spreads easiest between species. How many animals do you know of? Can you recognize a threat display? You can recognize a threat display from a snake. You can recognize one from a dog, from a cat, from a bull. You can recognize a threat display from a whole bunch of animals. How? Because, or rather, why? Why? Because both individuals benefit from the display. You don't mess with the angry animal. You don't get hurt. The angry animal doesn't get hurt either. Very often, a threat display will include a show of weapons. That's why the dog snarls. That's why the snake hisses. That's why the rattlesnake will hiss to show those fangs. It's showing a display of weapons. Look how big my teeth are. When I bite you with it, it's going to hurt. It can also include a show of fitness. When that bull is pawing the ground, stomping the ground, and dragging and kicking up a whole bunch of dust, it's showing you how strong it is. Look at how I'm tearing up this dirt. Look at how I am ripping up this ground. That's how strong I am. If you mess with me, you're going to have to deal with this strength. A show of fitness. Threat displays are not the only displays. There's also courtship displays. That's advertising a readiness to mate. Birds have lots of courtship displays. That often has a song. It often has a mating dance that they do together. Just do a Google search for bird courtship displays or bird mating dances. Some of them are really neat. Look specifically for a rifle bird. Watch the mating display, the mating dance of a rifle bird. It's really, really neat. Tactile displays. Also, this is generally for a kind of courtship, but tactile means touch. The only tactile displays that I know of specifically are, there's some species of spiders that will do this, where it's not uncommon for the female to eat the male, or for the female to eat anything that comes near her. And so the male will come up cautiously and will tap her front legs to let her know, hey, I just want to have sex, please don't kill me. And so then she'll raise those front legs, then he taps the next pair of legs, and she'll raise those until he actually gets her to stand up like that. And then once they're standing up, then they can have sex together. Tactile, touching, ritualized touching.